a little bit so I can see the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, this was our best lineup, guys. How we doing? We're gonna come in with a bit of a different review show this year and just start showing you lineups, and then hopefully we get popular enough where people will actually drop their DK handles in the chat, and we can even review some of their lineups as well. Because I love this time where we actually see where we were right and where we were wrong, and kind of go through why, even the stuff we got wrong, like why we did it, and I find that stuff very useful for the next week. So hopefully you guys do as well, because I really do. This is my favorite show of the week.
Yeah, I do have just a quick question about Tyreek Hill, because we see he's 33% owned. He went off still. Are we scared to double down and do it another week?
We can't, luckily.
Oh, yeah, we can. That's right.
Not in the big week 2 contest, which I think actually makes week 3 interesting, because he smashed in week 1. But there's going to be some fall off because some people just don't play Showdown, or they play it completely different. So come week 3, it's not so much will people play him or not, because he's Tyreek Hill. He will be high owned. But it's at what price does DraftKings put him at week 3, you know? And I think some of that's going to be based on Thursday, but it is interesting because you could argue, in cash, I guess Davis Manick was talking about him being only 28% owned in some cash lineups, especially high stakes, because people had heard the arrest news. And to be fair, that stuff happens. Like, that's just as relevant as injury news or any other late breaking news. It does change slates. We saw it with Christian McCaffrey, non-football, non-off the field incidents also changed for injuries. So you just have to adapt. I actually think that makes us very valuable commodities to the DFS landscape because we play so much NBA. And NBA slates, you're adjusting all the way up to lock. So I don't mind that.
Through lock.
Right through, yeah, even after sometimes. So I truly think that's a muscle that gives me some advantage for football.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see how reacting to news like that news doesn't usually happen in football. That's sort of the thing, though. It's like that was sort of a crazy event,
And Gov, me and you swim in the same circles, and I trust that guy pretty exclusively. Like when he said it, I trusted it, but there was still that ping of like, is this true? Like, because we invest so much, and because like Tyreek Hill being in or out, forget what actually happened in the incident, but him being in or out really does change not just Tyreek Hill, the projection, but it changes your whole entire lineup. Because there's only so many guys in his range, and then like you're probably building around, your highest priced guys. So you're building a stack around, Hill. So that changes the lineup.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like the reason he's 33% owned, you see Tua's only 8% owned. So it's like, no, people weren't building a stack around him. He was just the chalky guy. And actually, that's one of the structures I love. Is like everywhere we went, we got a low-owned play, except with the Tyreek Hill Yoshi combo that everyone was using, which honestly, like, if you think about it as a block, it's not great, but like it cost you $11K and it got you 35 points. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're on the Cincinnati game a little bit there. There were a lot of questions about New England, and is the defense going to, be as good as it was? It was stout last week. I mean, DraftKings had them priced at 2,600. It was basically a min defense. They completely shut down a very good passing offense, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on because Christian Gonzalez pretty much locked down Jamar Chase. Whether that's Jamar Chase not practicing because he's holding out, or it's just Christian Gonzalez is actually as good as he showed last year and is now showing again. Definitely is going to affect how I play the rest of the year when you're going up against a corner that good.
And that was the whole point of that Discord channel that we have, Donnie, where we just put our thoughts in for the week. Instead of having to try to remind each other what our thoughts are or try to even keep them in our own heads, we can put them somewhere. And Gov posted a lot of usage and targets before the show as well, and those were interesting. I think Yosivach, for example, for Cincinnati, was on the field a lot in that game. I don't remember the numbers. I'm not a huge stat guy. I like stats, but I'm not married to them. I like to date with them.
He did play a lot of snaps in that game, yes.
That's what I like to do. I like to take the stats and kind of dance with it and see if it actually matches my eyes, and that one did. I actually think we got unlucky with his production, if I'm being truthful. People are happy because it's like, oh, a 3K guy hit, but I think he could have smashed this week. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase did nothing. Yoshivas had more than Chase, if I'm not mistaken. And theoretically, if Jamar Chase does nothing in that offense, somebody else is going to do something. Didn't happen, really. Patriots shut him down.
And there was some fortunate things, in that game that went for or against you. Like, we didn't play any of it, but I know some people were, taking a cheap Mike Gesicki, for example. And, he had a touchdown and then they overruled it. Stuff like that makes a huge bit of difference.
Another guy I want to talk about, because I'm just noticing it now. I know he had a good point week. I didn't check his stats. I mean, Diggs really was touchdowns off of missing. He doesn't score those touchdowns, and that's an ugly game for him. That Houston offense did not give me any hope of wanting to play more of them anytime soon.
I'm glad you brought up Diggs, because I think he's like, if I had to put a fun little moniker on it, I think he was fool's gold this week. I really do. Because you're going to look at the box score, you're going to say he had a good game, but those points were on a touchdown. Now, you could argue back, because I do, the thing is, I'm not trying to tell you I'm right. I'm just telling you how I perceive the outcome, and the outcome was good. But that took 2 touchdowns and a high-powered offense that's very, very volatile.
It's true, and the stats I'm seeing look like Nico and Tank were on the field just as much, got almost the same target share. If anything, Tank and Nico were getting much more deeper targets downfield, and Nico took advantage and also had a big game here too. But Diggs got all these short touchdowns. Yeah, Diggs caught all the touchdowns.
Right, and last year those were touchdowns for Nico Collins. Let's not forget.
Or Tank Dell.
Yes.
And let's not pretend that Diggs can't be the touchdown guy, but let's be honest about the numbers. If he's going to keep up this level of production, he needs a touchdown. That's what this stat line says.
I don't think it's
he could be a possession monster. Yeah, he's a big red zone threat. You can run him across and all that. He can run all those routes, and when you need to, he can run any of the other routes that Tank and Nico can run. But looks like Tank and Nico run them better for what Stroud likes. But that offense was able to. It looked solid coming out, and Mixon was insane. Like, if you feed Mixon and just let Stroud hit his guys when he needs to, it was working. It was clicking. Houston's going to be a problem this year.
They're a problem, but I don't want any part of guessing who's going off which week. I think Stroud's a great quarterback to play. Mixon might be a good running back to play every so often, but the receivers, it is a guessing game until injuries happen.
I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see. I got to dig into more numbers.
That's part of the DFS that doesn't get talked enough about. Is we were on a lot of these plays, and sometimes they just don't fit into a lineup. It's like $100 off or $200 off, where you just fall in love. If you believe something, all I want you guys to do, and I'm talking to the audience when I say you guys, all I want you to do is make smart, educated guesses. Like, people always want to argue, is DFS a gamble? How much of a gamble is it? Like, is it luck? It's like, know your contest and make the smartest decisions you can make based on your biases. I know Gov was involved in a chat we were having a bit before the slate that night, and it became basically the analytics versus your kind of gut feeling or your bias. And really, I think it's a mix of both. I think you have to have some bias. Like, you have to believe in your plays. Like, for example, Donnie, I believe you played 100% Tyreek Hill.
100% of them. I said it since 3 weeks ago. I was going to play Tyreek Hill every week when he's gone off for the past 5 years.
Right, and I know you, so you would have actually done that. Like, even if he gets 0, he gets a hamstring injury in the first quarter, you would have played that lineup, and you would have brought that lineup to the table. And that's what you need some of that. But also, like, say there was a bunch of injury, scares or concerns, the coaching stuff, you would get off of that. You would make the adjustment based on the news.
Right.
And I think a lot of people will get locked into, oh, I got to play this guy because he's in a good offense. This is still early on, DFS. We don't know. We don't know. But here's the thing: people are going to overreact to this news. So, what do you think people are going to overreact to the most? Or better yet, because we can talk about ourselves, right? Better than most. What do you think we overreacted to in this lineup? Like, if you could go back and like kind of coach yourself, do you think we made any process mistakes?
See, my thing is all of our snowflakes, like a min price tight end. We had a min price tight end hit this week. Same game, in fact, just other end. We got Chris Olave. That offense went off. He didn't. I mean,
that's what I mean. Could you say that's a bad play when they get that many points? And let's not forget, this is a cheap plug, if you will, but we do have best balls alive. We did a bunch of them. You saw we took Shaheed. We were high on Chris Olave. Like we're talking about plays that we like. So Shaheed hits. Chris doesn't. Chris is a guy I would definitely go back to in week 2. I could see his ownership being way too suppressed.
I mean, and another thing, Chicago didn't score a touchdown offensively, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the block punt for a touchdown. I think they had another defensive touchdown. I don't think I know they didn't have a passing touchdown, but I don't think they scored a whole offensive touchdown either all game.
Okay, I got something. Only critique I have that we might want to try to think about.
Mm-hmm. This was our drafted lineup, by the way.
So this was not our value lineup. This was our drafted lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little cashy in that it looks like a cash lineup, but instead of playing Walker and Rashad White, we played Jones and Stevenson. Instead of playing Neighbors or London and like Pitts or Ingram at the tight end in that, we played Diggs and Olave. But we still stuck in Tyreek and Isho and basically punted at tight end so that we could get up to Tua instead of playing one of the 6K or 5K cheap, instead of playing like a Jaden McDaniels and then Diggs is McLaurin. That would have been like a cash lineup. Well, and then Olave's London. Like you do that, you're in a cash lineup. And like I said with the running backs. Now you've got like 2K to put on Sanders. You're playing Kyle Pitts. You're playing Zach Ertz. You're playing something like that.
Yeah. And I will say.
That just sounds like the normal cash single entry lineup that was getting built.
Well, let's not.
Was like that's the optimal lineup. And we made pivots to not do that. So and we got our low ownership. So we didn't do anything wrong in that sense of building a lineup. But now that I think about it, it is a cash-looking lineup. It's an optimal-looking lineup that's just very pivoted, very leveraged.
Yeah, and I just want to point out,
maybe we could have gone with, that's where it's well, maybe instead of building the cash lineup, let's just completely fade Tyreek and go with the min-price lineup. Although, I'm trying to think, the lineup that won the Millie was absolutely crazy because it was able to play Josh Allen and Tyreek. And it didn't punt with all the guys, but it hit all the 4K guys that did stuff and didn't we went 6K guys and Isho.
Yeah.
When we probably could have gone the Pierce and the Shaheed instead of Olave and Isho and then still played like Diggs.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is when we look at Sanders, that could be a potential bad play. He had 1.4 points at min price. The highest scoring tight end on this slate had 14.3 at min price.
Yeah.
The next closest was 11. There was only 4 tight ends over 11, and 2 of those came from the Saints.
And that's my point with playing these cheap tight ends. It's not that I want to play the worst tight end because people will. I mean, even I get.
This was a bad tight end slate in general. There was no Kelsey. There was no Andrews.
Yeah.
No, there was McBride.
McBride was good.
Yeah,
McBride's a good tight end. Everyone was really high on Kincaid all fucking summer. Yeah, how'd that fucking come out to you guys?
To be fair, we were lower on him. So to Donnie's point, our rankings were low on him, and you guys can go back and watch that. That's part of the reason we document everything we do.
But all right, go on.
No, but that's my point with the cheap tight end builds. Like, it's not always going to work. But my point is, I don't want just a cheap guy. Like, I could find a cheap guy every week, but I want
no tight end really did anything this week on
Right.
the main slate.
Outside of Isaiah Likely, did not on the slate.
Well, that's saying Isaiah Likely destroyed Thursday night, but outside of that, no tight end really did anything. Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown. I think him and the New Orleans guys, were the only ones who did anything. But
no, it was. I have the DK live up right now. It was Moreau with 14, Brock Bowers with 11, Pitts with 11, Jawan Johnson with 10.
You can share that screen if you want, Donnie. I like that screen. It's a beautiful setup.
Yeah, DK Live is a good
well, to that point, because I am fortunate enough to watch Red Zone now. That's one of the luxuries I give myself every year. I know it's expensive, but the Saints could have easily had that touchdown they had to Johnson to Taysom Hill. And then everyone's Taysom Hill bags are looking really good. Everyone's like, I told you, best ball of summer. I was right. And it's not to say like one is right or wrong. It's that is the outcome. And we're more worried about the process. So like maybe we do have to make a process change, but I'm not ready to make that change on 1 week.
But I mean, these tight ends, I still stand by. That's a good play just based on what everyone else got of their tight end value. It's not bad.
We played another tight end. I think we played Evan Ingram.
Like I said, even all these like no tight end did more than so you're talking like Moreau with 14, then the best tight end did 11. So tight end really didn't matter. Like getting 1 point from a minimum salary guy actually isn't so horrible. If we would have if Olave had been Evans, if we'd have figured out how to turn like Olave and Aaron Jones into Mike Evans and even like go to running back. Didn't which one of the chalky ones hit? Was it Ken Walker or Rashad White? I forgot.
Oh, Walker, because it buried Donnie in the big tournament. Like
that's what it was. Okay, so like we could have easily gone down from Aaron Jones to Ken Walker and gotten up from Olave to Mike Evans, who absolutely crushed. And then the 1 point from our minimum salary tight end doesn't matter. It's just like getting 5 points from Yoshi. It doesn't matter. Everyone else went off.
But I will say, I remember having this argument of if we're going to play Olave, wouldn't we rather play Kamara? Just because he's going to get the targets as well.
Yeah, but Olave was a little cheaper and wide receiver was more flexible.
Yep.
But yeah, like I think a lot of the running back plays, like I loved Connor. I had plenty of him. I didn't have enough Dobbins.
Yeah, I had one Dobbins, and the Dobbins lineup I had was 2 points away from 150. I really almost had an amazing week.
Yeah, you did. I'm going to show our FanDuel lineup too because that was probably our biggest win margin. And I also just want to show people a different format, to show that we're not shills to just DraftKings alone. I do think FanDuel's doing some interesting things too because they include.
I am a shill to just DraftKings. Hello, DraftKings.
I actually am as well. I do want to say that.
I will say DraftKings though, because we don't have any sponsorships, so we can be more transparent. DraftKings has the better platform for DFS especially. I just think
I've heard FanDuel has a better space.
Yeah, the sportsbook on FanDuel is nice.
I have just recently been able to access a sportsbook as I have moved into a state with a legal sports betting.
Well, I always say it too, Gov, while we're on the topic, to diversify your portfolio. And that's what saved me this week because some of my DraftKings lineups lost, but some of my prop bets won. And then where some of my prop bets lost, my DK lineups won. So actually, I came out like $3 or $4 ahead, but it was a combination of things. And I think that's what you got to do. Instead of trying to get the perfect combination, like unless you're going after the millie, which we don't play. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Don't worry about contests you never play. People are like, well, if I would have played the millie, I would have won $1 million. No, you would. If you don't enter the contest, you're not going to win that contest.
20 rush attempts for Najee.
Yeah, I was about to say I compared it to Warren.
Atlanta, but what the hell?
I was going to say because I was looking at the difference between Najee and Warren. Najee had 20 carries to Warren's 2.
Oh, Arthur Smith is going to run Najee into the fucking ground. Oh God!
Someone needed to.
You saw
Cordero,
Cordero, and you saw Cordero Patterson get touches, right?
I did not. I did not watch this game.
You didn't see Cordero Patterson get that third down? It was amazing.
He did. I told you he was going to get touches.
Cordero Patterson a touch as well.
I mean, that game had no touchdowns, so that was kind of boring. All field goals. I think Chris Boswell had 6 for 6 for field goals and a punt because their punter got hurt for the year. What a game by Boswell. We don't talk about kickers much, but
Steelers just coming out and
that's the most Steeler game.
This is how they end up 500 at the end of the year. Even if you think they're bad, even if they're bad and lose some games badly, they win a couple of games like that, and all of a sudden they've got 9 wins on the season. It's okay, that's where the Steelers ended up.
I distinctively remember Boswell. I think it was his rookie year. That game where he had 5 or 6 field goals in the playoffs that helped them win as well. So this isn't the first time in his career he's done that. But that's besides the point.
You guys are going to get mad at me and think I'm going too far in the weeds here, but I believe this take. And we covered the UFL, so that's what we do. We go deep. We cover the fringes where most people don't. I truly think we're going to see more kick return touchdowns this year than any other year because of the kickoff changes. So I'm not saying to force in a kick returner, but like a guy like Shaheed, you might want to favor him a bit more in DFS lineups if you think the Saints have viable explosion type games like we saw, because I do think we're going to see it more, and we do get you do get the special teams touchdowns. Just saying, those are the kind of millie throws I would actually play, not just this random 3K guy.
All right, let's look at our other lineup for the week.
By the way, can we commit to doing that other lineup every week? I thought that was I watched back the show that we did. I thought that was our best lineup process build. It was just a fun watch. While I get it up, can you guys remind the people what we did?
Oh, you mean the value lineup? Yeah, where we basically tried to plug in all of our value plays and build a lineup that made sense, leaving a couple thousand on the table.
I mean,
and then afterwards we look at the lineup and make a consensus. Okay, what are the 2 weakest plays in the lineup? Let's upgrade those 2 plays.
See if I can run it by the lineup. That might be easier. No, it will not be easier. But watching it back though, Gov, I really enjoyed it. Because I think we got into discussions we didn't even know we were going to have, and then they organically just unfolded. And it forces you to get off of things, but it would be I think it would be a bad lineup if we forced that salary cap and didn't make changes. But forcing it originally and then being able to rework it was just a fun exercise. I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to find it though. Maybe both of our lineups cashed, but I didn't think so.
I'm just looking at defenses on the DK Live right now, but I mean, I'm very shocked at how good defenses did this week because September is not a defensive week. Usually. Now, does that correlate to preseason not being played as much anymore? Possibly. But
what's the biggest victory lap that you guys saw this week?
Oh, let's see. The Giants suck, so yeah, the defense against them did well. Cleveland sucks, so yeah, the defense against them did well. Panther, yeah. So all the defenses that did well are the ones against the teams that suck. Until you got even the Patriots, I thought they might do well just because Cincinnati's going to throw a bunch, and that can historically be something that defenses can take advantage of. If there's a lot of pass attempts, there's a lot more chances for tip balls, interceptions, wild stuff.
All I know is I live in a world as a Patriots fan in 2024 where the Patriots are going to start off 2-0.
I gotta apologize. I had the lineup in front of me the whole time, but I let my ego get the best of me. I said, you know what, guys? We min cash. We won $1.50 on our drafted lineup. That $2 was definitely one of my personal lineups. No, you guys saved my bacon. The show lineups are the only lineups that cashed this week. This was our 4,400 build. Because I remember getting Daniels in here, and it could have been bigger. I believe we were debating between Walker, were we not? We were debating between Connor and Walker, and I think Walker scored him.
He outscored him by 2 points.
Yeah.
So I doubt that makes a difference for us.
Yeah, no, actually, our running backs hit here. Our quarterback hit here. Like somehow Daniels hit, but McLaurin was absolute garbage. It sucks that Devontae, like we had all the extra money. We were able to get one of our wide receiver, one of our cheap guys up to Devontae Adams.
Yeah. And I was high in Devontae, so I'll own that one. You know, even Donnie, who was considering Kirk or Ingram, I think Kirk ended up with like 2 more points than Ingram. But let's be honest, we want correlation. Like this lineup was built with a salary constriction at first to basically get us on different plays, but then to fix it and correlate. So yeah, it didn't work, but I thought this lineup correlated perfectly. And like if we don't play Ingram, we might not play Hill, and that was not an option for you, Donnie. You were playing Hill 100%, so we were going to bring it back with one of the Jacksonville guys, and just unfortunately, they didn't keep up. So we move on to the next week.
I mean, the points. Dolphins won the game on a field goal. This is an awful game for the Jaguars fantasy point wise, not in real life.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's what we need to separate.
Well, that's a good point because Travis Etienne missed out on like 8 points. You know, he was walking into an end zone and fumbled it. That's obviously a -2 for the fumble. But if he gets those points and doesn't fumble, you know, that's a huge swing. So that's where real life and fantasy don't always merge. I don't think any of you would say Evan Ingram's a bad player. Week 2, you wouldn't consider him if he was in the right matchup. So I can't beat myself up about that one. But I really like the thought exercise. Am I overhyping it here? Because I mean, I really did enjoy this lineup.
So a little chalkier than the last one, because of McLaurin and Ingram, but like those were like like you see, Daniels was a little more owned than Tua.
Yeah.
So his top target was going to be owned. McLaurin looked like a number 1. Everyone loved him. Like I said, he was kind of a cash play. Like that. That's why I said the other lineup looked cashy, except we switched McLaurin up to Olave or something.
Get a Mike Evans instead of Adams would be, you know, again, just get up.
Yep. Again, like we hit a good 5%. Mike Evans, I believe, was like an 11% guy, just because people liked the other side of that Washington game. Like if we would have had that bring back instead of Devontae Adams, that would have actually been like this lineup could have been kicking with an extra like 15 points from Mike Evans instead of Devontae.
And I'd like to take away week 1 takeaways for like something we can use for week 2 and beyond, like some kind of takeaway. They can be like, well, we might have got this wrong, but believe in this. This is something you definitely want to pay attention to. My number 1 this week is attack the Washington pass defense. I thought they were bad. They might be historically bad. Like, we might not see a worse pass defense in my lifetime.
You don't think Baker Mayfield is just the GOAT?
Baker Mayfield is gonna. I mean, he made good reads in general.
He did.
But that wide receiver room is so dominantly full of guys.
You saw he missed McMillan and then on a touchdown early, and then hit him on it late.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Washington's defense, but that receiver room is very hard to defend.
They are, but I've seen it too long now. Like last year, they were bad. They were preaching about how they fixed it. And that's why I want to attack them in week 2, because when you preach like, oh, I fixed it, you know, we know our problems, we're going to own up to them.
And then you let Baker have 300 yards and get torched by a great passing offense. Like, did you fix it?
Yeah, and to Donnie's point.
Are they really, really good? We'll see.
Well,
Who does Washington play this week? We'll have to look. We'll save that for our Saturday lineup builder.
Yeah, I wish I could remember because I did look at a first look. But that was just something I needed to mention because I thought that was a glaring thing. Also, speaking of glaring things that correlate with this lineup, I don't know if you guys realize, but Brock Bowers out-targeted Devontae Adams. Now, if you told me, you know, Brock caught a pass and he just caught a long touchdown and he got the fact that Bowers out-targeted Adams, that is noteworthy to me. Both positive and negative. It might be some foreshadowing for a trade, for some uncomfortableness. Maybe it's Adam's fault. But when a rookie comes in there and just dominates your share like that, that is something I want to take notice of.
Well, and another rookie that dominated this week, not quite the fantasy point wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
Keon Coleman led the Bills in targets. That is definitely noteworthy when we're talking about Buffalo needing a receiver to step up.
Now, I know this player because he used to play at Michigan State. Then he transferred to Florida, got some recognition, and then got drafted. He is a big boomer bust guy. So he's a big body guy who runs like he's got like a Vincent Jackson like build, and he's a lot faster. So, but he has no coordination with like route running or anything. He's just like he does a few things really well, kind of Jameson Williams like. So you see that boom and bust kind of spike. I'm a bit scared to play him in like a showdown lineup, but then I see his price, and I think I'm going to do it. Do you think so? Given our strategy with this, like, how do you think this lineup could make a better lineup in week 2? Do you like the form? Like, I really did like it. Do you think we like really messed up by doing it? Like, just give the people, your perspective or thoughts.
Early on, value is going to be everywhere till they change the pricing to be more adequate. Like,
yeah, we felt like we were able to just throw it on and make it easy. It is going to get harder and harder to do this as the year gets on.
Yeah, and maybe it's even more valuable then because we're not like I know some OWS, for example, 1 week season does it where they actually hold you to a salary restriction. Like they do a fan contest where you can only use a certain salary. I forget what that amount is. That's not really the thought of this exercise. It's more like, okay, I want to restrict you.
Let's get all of our value plays in there, restrict that at first, and say we know we're going to be leaving a few thousand on the table, but let's get a lineup that we like with all of our value plays.
Because it doesn't.
And then use that 3, 4, 5,000 that we probably have left over. It might be less later on in the season.
Right.
Like it was like 5K, and we were perfectly fine with the lineup. Like with 5K, you can turn a wide receiver into Devontae Adams. You can turn a running back into James Conner, and you can turn a tight end into Evan Ingram. Boom.
And this is where I think it's a valuable lesson for me because I like stars and scrub. But even with the stars and scrub build, I will put in the value with the already kind of perception filter of, if I get this value, I'll be able to afford CeeDee Lamb. I won't even know his price, but I'll know if I put in a value, I'm getting up to the high price guy. This lineup kind of restricts that. It's saying, what's the value plays? You have to stay within a budget, and then you get all your money at the end. So it's like, do you really like that value play now that you got the money, or does it not make sense? That's where I thought this lineup was valuable. What's something that we got wrong in week 1 that you don't think we'll be returning to? It could be a theory, it could be a strategy, it could be a player. Is there some, like, for example, on the opposite end, I want to go back to Chris Olave. I think he is going to smash sooner than later. That 3 points doesn't scare me.
Yeah, for me, it would be the Panthers' offense is just as disgusting as the Giants' offense, and I want no part of either two.
You saw how we've sent that game to Germany.
Yeah,
The final punishment for World War II. This is the football you get. We give you the shit football.
It's such a weird thing that bad football can be good fantasy points. So kind of like Brock, or not. I almost said Brock Bowers, but
that deserves to be its own slate. You need to guess which garbage is better.
That is the only prime time game the Panthers get this year. We don't have a Thursday night game. We don't have a Sunday or a Monday night game. We don't play on any of those weird fuck days that they have this year, like Wednesday.
I got to be honest, that's kind of an advantage.
What would be the opposite of prime time, though? Because it's not prime at all. It's in the morning. It's going
to be a 9 a.m. on a Saturday.
It's inconvenience time. There's got to be a better name for it, but for now, we'll call it inconvenience time.
So truly, Donnie, I like it because it gives me an excuse to be like, I can't sleep. That's because football is coming on soon. I'm already very amped up and very ready to build lineups and ready to overthink myself. So those games are fun for me because I actually do less tinkering during those games.
I actually almost always miss the first half of those games. I'm always, because it's, right after I finish, either working late or traveling for sports. So I miss those usually.
Okay, I want to do some rapid fire if you guys will. And I'll get to you guys on in just a second. What would Tyreek Hill's ownership have to be for week 3 for him to be a fade? Assuming he'll be one of the highest priced wide receivers. Just play this theory game out with me.
At that price, I think I'm one of the people. I'll just lock him in and eat the chalk.
It's interesting because I think Gov was pretty much that way with Christian McCaffrey when he was in his prime with the Carolina Panthers and in the early 49 years.
If it was like 9,500, it's different, but then it won't be that high up.
Yeah.
No, price wise,
yeah.
Yeah, he can be in the 9K range. I'll still play him.
I think so. Jam to win at 1 week.
It's already 87. I found a way to jam him in.
Well, that's what it is. 1 week they were talking about it last year. I forget. It might have been Tyreek Hill. When Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson were really high, they're like, look, he's high for everyone on this slate, right? Tyreek Hill is this price. So he is hard for everyone to get in. But if you can unlock the code to make that hard decision worth it, then you skyrocket up the board. So yeah, you might have to play a J.K. Dobbins. Let's just say you knew the outcome of J.K. Dobbins and Hill. We could easily build really good lineups just with those two players alone.
Yep.
And that's why you build the stars and script lineups. So Gov, you were going to show something off?
No, I've just got like the Thursday night game. Like I figured, why not show off? Because
we got the spreads to go over as well.
Oh yeah, we got to go to the spread picks first.
Yeah, let's do the spread first. So I'll share that screen.
Then we can do a little preview of Thursday night.
I don't see your screen.
There it is. It just got up. Okay. So most importantly, is it here? You got it, Logan?
I got it now.
Right.
For some reason I couldn't scroll, but I got it now.
Once again, as always, our lock of the week is never a lock. If you just went against our lock of the week every week, you would be in very good shape. It's because Carolina sucks more than we thought. I finished the week with the first push. It's my first push in our 3 years of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've never pushed. Patriots saved me. Go Broncos, I guess.
Everyone has a push. You had a push last year.
I did have a push last year. Okay. Then that was my first push. Logan 1-1. And Gov 1-1 is the standings right now. I'm in my rightful place on the top of the throne. I will make this look a little bit more pretty for you guys next week. But for now,
you better work on that, boy. Work on your spreadsheet, boy.
I mean,
I'm feeling pretty good.
It is a homework computer after all. So if we give Donnie some homework on his homework computer, that seems logical. Let's go over to the Thursday night lineup. I was going to pull. I got the sports book on FanDuel open as well. They're giving away a ton of boosts right now at Gov. So if you like anything, Donnie, if you like anything, shout it out because you might be giving out good value to the people. There's tons of good profit boost. There's tons of free contests. There's actually a free contest in the DraftKings lobby for this exact contest. You should definitely take advantage.
I think important to note for the slate so far, all we have going into it is Mostert and A-Chain are not practicing as of today. Is that precaution? Maybe. It honestly likely precaution because Mostert didn't get much work last week anyway. So I find it hard to believe that he's gonna be here. Maybe he didn't get much work because they knew they need to come back Thursday, and this Thursday, Mostert's going to be the workhorse.
Well, to that point, Donnie, it could be positive. Who knows? I mean, getting a rest and being a good team and having stellar running backs is a good thing. Like people talk about it with the Lions all the time about how Gibbs and Montgomery are hard plays and these kind of showdown lineups, for example. Dan Campbell doesn't care about that. He only cares about the team success. So it's kind of the same with the Dolphins. They don't really care that we want to play A-Chain or they really don't care. So sometimes you have to own that.
Right. Like we know the Dolphins, if they were thinking ahead, which Mike McDaniel, he's a smart guy.
Yep.
They knew that if they lost to the Jaguars, they could live with it more than if they lose to the Bills. If they were just trying to preserve Mostert a little bit extra because they wanted to win a divisional game early on, that's not a bad idea. And they still walked away with a win, and Achane's a good enough running back where you should be able to do that.
Early thoughts in this lineup, though. Would you fade Coleman? Because I think that's the choice. We faded him in best ball. We were low on him rank-wise. Is that something we're willing to kind of concede and be like, no, we were wrong, we should play him? He's just he's at a price where he's expensive enough that if you play him, he is a bit restrictive, but he's almost too cheap where if you don't play him, you're making a stand.
I put a mock together. I don't exactly remember what it was.
A mock lineup?
Yeah.
See, I did that too.
My mock lineup actually has a Coleman captain.
That's what I did too, because I did it without and I did it with him. And the only way I could really get different was to actually put him at captain. I'm like, he has that big, like, blazing speed upside too. So not that he is Tyreek Hill, but he's got like that, 4.4 speed. So I'm like, it makes sense. And it allowed you to get like Josh Allen and, everyone else.
Are we going to get the rookie and Josh Wilson with no Achane and Mostert on Thursday? Is that what I'm going to have to deal with?
Jalen Wright, I think, is the guy. But they also have a wide receiver they wanted to roll out in week one. He was just hurt. He's actually third in the depth chart, and he's only $200 on the slate. His name is help me out, Washington.
Malik Washington. Yeah. I think Berrios will pick most of those snaps out of the slot. Still, he's just a perfect slot receiver. But
not if this kid's healthy. This kid really was a prized possession for them. They made it a target to get him. Now, you might be right, but at $200, if he is activated and going to get some work, at $200, he is at least consideration.
Oh, 100%. But basically, Craycraft is not going to play, which is, he's on IR. We knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Odell's still going to be hurt. So it really is, for that third wide receiver spot, it is Washington and Berrios. And they didn't give Berrios all the snaps last year. I find it hard to believe they will this year.
And look, I want to say this too. If you don't have the time to check your lineups and make adjustments before these games lock, don't play Showdown. Because Showdown is only one game. You have to react to news. Look at Christian McCaffrey news. Like, it doesn't happen as much in football, but when it happens, it changes the whole lineup. It does shake up a lineup entirely.
Yeah, and like right now, I don't know if those two running backs are going to be out. But like, if this is what happens and we lose one or both of Achane or Mostert before the start of the game, like, we have sort of the same scenario. Now you have a starting running back at 2K.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost a pure lock. Like Mason could have scored half as many points as he did last night, and he still would have been absolutely necessary that you had him.
Well, Donnie can attest to this because Donnie was the highest on him. I was kind of iffy. And Donnie was like, he's going to get used to, he's going to get work. He's going to get work.
This was before the McCaffrey news I was on.
Right, you were high on him. Like, you thought he was going to get work before that. And my thing was, I will 100% play him if he is the guy. But I need to know if he's the guy. And then like 20 minutes later, we get the news, and I'm full go. The way the Dolphins run their running backs out there, you don't need that many big plays. They got big play running backs, whether most of their plays or not. Like, that's how they run their offense. I've talked about it a bit before the show with the 49ers run game. Sometimes you have a running scheme, and you just have to believe in that scheme. Yes, Christian McCaffrey is better than Mason, right? He adds a different element to that, to that running back room. He would add a different running, element to anybody's running back room. But there are some schemes that just fit with players so well that you're going to just play that team. Arthur Smith teams are going to run the ball, for example.
There is something I do want to point out about Buffalo as well, though. For Buffalo, they have 5 receivers listed on their depth chart. Every one of them got at least 2 targets.
Mm-hmm.
The most being 5 with Coleman. That is not much of knowledge of who's going to be playing.
And honestly,
5 easily can turn to 2. It can easily can turn to 10.
Or 0.
Or 0, exactly.
If I'm being honest, I think they're still auditioning. I don't think they know. I think they'll pretend to know. I think they have. What would you say? Like they have leans. They have.
I think they have 5 receivers who are literally going to play all year long because there's no one who's amazing and there's no one who's bad.
They might.
Their bad receiver is MVS, and we've seen that he can have ceiling games.
And people might say, well, when has that really worked? Green Bay last year. That's when that worked.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh God.
By the way,
you're gonna have to deal with MVS for another year. Sorry.
Oh God, no.
I want the over under by this. By the way, I almost forgot. What's the chances that Logan plays a Malik Willis lineup in week 2? I don't know. I thought about it.
I'm gonna say there's no chance because he literally is that bad. Like,
I thought about it. He's been in my practice.
And I was gonna say it's a goddamn guarantee.
No, he can't even throw a Hail Mary right. He is awful.
I've lost money.
If you give him time and preparation, he might only halfway shit his pants.
I don't care if he's Tim Tebow. If he gets rushing yards, that quarterback position is valuable. For example,
but no one will want to tackle him. He'll smell so bad.
Logan, they called Ryan Tannehill.
I know.
Ryan Tannehill?
This is not.
Unless you're calling Ryan Fitzpatrick, you got nothing.
I love me some Ryan Fitzpatrick.
They should call Tom Brady. He might come back. He could be better at that than Brady
would be like, honestly, the best scenario for them, and there's no chance of it happening. So their second best case scenario is Ryan Tannehill. Their best case scenario is going out there with
the Tannehill.
Just somehow find a way to not play Malik Willis. It's the best case scenario.
Honestly, I probably won't play it because there's so many other cheap guys. Like I still like Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young played his worst game I think all year and still finished.
But what tells you that? Last year this was not. I mean, last year it was not even the worst year.
But that's not. Well, Donnie, what I'm saying is fantasy points don't always equal wins. Like even in garbage time, you're going to put up stats. Like Bryce Young outscored Will Levis. He outscored a lot of quarterbacks.
Yes, but also 12 points is not usually enough to do much for you.
No, you're right. You need 20 to really do well on it in tournament. Another guy for the Bills, speaking of before we wrap up, Ray Davis is interesting. Didn't get a ton of work, but really showed something as a flash guy, a rookie with some speed in the backfield. So that could be another cheap bill as well.
There is some news on Malik Willis, though. It is confirmed he will start.
They like your other backup, Sam Clifford, too.
Clifford, yeah. They said he will start over over Sean Clifford. But Jordan, I would be shocked if they forced Jordan Love out there. That would be such a mistake.
I don't think they'll do that.
They're talking. I mean, it's got to be a smokescreen when they talk about him being able to play, possibly.
Sam Darnold looked good too, by the way. That's what I'm saying. There's too many good quarterbacks still at cheaper prices. Look good.
Right. I mean,
any other last minute news that you guys want to get out?
Let's see. I've got stats I gotta go over, but nope, that's basically it for me. Unless you guys want to try to build out this lineup. Who is your favorite captain for Thursday right now? Right now, gun to your head. Who you got?
Right now, it's Coleman, but that easily changes with Dolphins news. It might end up being Mostert if I talk myself into they were resting.
And I was never thinking a Buffalo captain. I think Miami wins this game. It's in Miami, so that's the thing. I'm afraid if both A-Chain and Mostert are out, because I'm going to need to play Jeff Wilson, and I probably still just go Tyreek. This is like last night. I'm just gonna go Tyreek captain. Why not? It's like McCaffrey. I'm yeah.
It's hard to afford so much, and if you do somebody like Coleman, whose captain price is 89, you can fit almost everyone else.
Yeah, but
that's
Coleman
what I did.
Sucks. Coleman's
or
garbage.
you
He's got
captain
no target share.
Okay.
Like the only other lock I know is like I have to have Josh Allen because he's the entire Buffalo offense.
Right.
Like, that's the only. This is how I'm going to start my lineups. Is like that.
My
if
lineups
not like
start
that,
with at least them in there in some way.
If not like that, then like that.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
that's how mine automatically starts at minimum.
Yeah, same.
Let's build out our favorite captain lines very quickly. Then, so if we went Hill, see, I would want to play like that $200 Washington wide receiver from the Dolphins, and then play Tua and just go onslaught.
Other Washington, it's Malik Washington.
Yeah, Malik.
So if you can get that, and then you can validate having an Allen or a Tyreek, now we're talking.
Because if you can look in the depth chart, I'm not kidding. If he is active, they think he could be the slot receiver. That was the role they wanted.
Braxton Berrios will play some. I think that's a great lineup. That's perfect. If Washington plays and we're told he's going to work, cool.
And then obviously, if you did Coleman, you would take you put him at captain, and you go Josh Allen, and you do slightly different.
Right.
I do think there's some unique value in this slate.
But he didn't participate in this practice. I doubt it. Malik Washington comes and plays.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The tight end Smith could be interesting. He's cheaper, but again, Mike McDaniel doesn't like tight ends in his offense historically. But given that price, you might consider
his tight ends have always been really awful, though.
Gesicki
was there for the first year, wasn't he?
He was, and they're on the field a lot because he does demand a lot of them. It's just usually not fantasy producing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of your thing to do on Showdowns, Gov, is to take the tight end that will be in the red zone, that will be around the ball, and just hope that he's cheap enough and he gets 1 or 2 catches.
John was not a red zone
and
guy.
honestly, what I'm seeing from Buffalo, like my thought is Josh Allen is a GOAT, but he's the entire offense. And if he's not willing them to get those touchdowns and maybe scoring them rushing, I don't know if they get those scores. And they probably kick field goals
against an Arizona.
I really like the kicker for Buffalo this year. Yeah. Tyler Bass is probably
against the Arizona defense. It's like, man, if you're struggling, Arizona's one downfall is their defense is terrible.
And like the receivers struggled, but Josh Allen moved the ball down the field. He had multiple rushing touchdowns. Like he was a beast.
Yeah. You could say if he's a bit more efficient in the passing game, maybe he doesn't get the rushing, but he actually has a better fantasy point game. I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't look all that great. Now the rushing it's kind of like Daniels in this lineup. Daniels got 2 rushing touchdowns that made his day look a lot better. That's why we played him, to be fair. We talked about him being the cheaper version of Richardson, and that's what you got. You got that rushing upside, but it could have easily been Robinson, because they were goal line rushes. They were basically, quarterback keeper type runs on the goal line. Where if he hands it to the running back, maybe that's 2 Robinson, rushes, and that score line looks a lot different.
They kept it very simple for Daniels week 1, as they should. Daniels looked the best out of all the quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks. Other than that, Penix and May looked the second best. But
I like that shot there. I like it. All right, guys. I think that'll do it, though. We appreciate all the love. Maybe I don't say this enough. Like and subscribe does go a long way. I don't want to shield it out or feel like I'm self-promoting too much because I really do hate that on my own podcast. But especially with us being so young and starting off a new season and really putting in the time and effort, a like and subscribe, whether I think it's the right way to go about it, it does help the YouTube algorithms quite a lot. So I would appreciate that.
Also, comment down below. Tell us where you think we got shit wrong.
Yeah,
please. Say whatever the hell you want. Actually,
call us idiots.
Don't be a bot.
We'll be fun with it. We will
just don't be a bot. That's all I ask.
Yeah, no more.
Although we have been getting a lot of bots on Twitter, and that is a sign that we're doing something right. So I do appreciate them too. Let's not discriminate. But with that being said, good night, guys.
Night, everyone.
Peace out, everyone.